If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I wanted to cover this a little while ago, but I didn't, in regards to Aaron Hernandez and his supposed suicide in prison, which a lot of people believe was an Illuminati hit. Personally, at first, I thought potentially this guy was still alive and they made this thing up for him to escape prison, which is still highly likely. For those of you who aren't aware, Aaron Hernandez was a tight end for the New England Patriots in the NFL. He was accused of murder, multiple murders. He had a lot of baggage in his life, even before he made it to the NFL in his college career. But he was found guilty of murder in one situation and then found not guilty recently in a different trial. So he was found not guilty. He was crying in the courtroom. Very bizarre behavior. So after he was found not guilty of this other murder, he had apparently hung himself at 3 o'clock in the morning, which, of course, as I always talk about, 3 o'clock in the morning, that is the hour of satanic ritual sacrifice. When they perform a lot of these satanic rituals, it occurs at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why there's songs by Eminem about 3 a.m. You'll hear a lot of celebrities reference 3 a.m. You'll see it in a lot of shows, the time 3 a.m. So anyway, he supposedly had hung himself in his cell, which, if you see the size of this man, he is a monster of a human being. He is huge. He's about 6'2", 250 pounds. To hang yourself in your prison cell on a bed sheet or with a bed sheet, highly unlikely. But there's obviously a lot of connections with this guy being involved in gangs or potentially being even a member of the Illuminati, a low-level potential member. But this is what's interesting about it. Now, this has finally been confirmed as of today that he actually wrote John 3:16 on his forehead, left suicide notes for his fiancée. Some had claimed that he left a suicide note for his gay lover, that he was really bisexual and had a male lover on the side as well as a male lover while in prison. That is still speculation, but it wouldn't surprise me or anybody else out there who's aware of the world that we live in. I mean, a lot of these guys are bisexual. It's pretty disgusting. But now the information has come out that he wrote in his own blood on the wall, Illuminati, and left an Illuminati pyramid on the wall. Which some people will say, well, does that mean that he was an Illuminati sacrifice? Which is probably what they want you to take and run with the story. But don't even be surprised if this guy is still alive. Don't be surprised if this is just their way. He got off on the second murder charge, even though he's supposed to serve a life sentence. When these guys are in the occult, they can get away with murder. They can do what they want. We've seen it with the West Memphis Three. These three scumbag Satanists who professed an oath to Satan, who professed their love for Aleister Crowley, who did a blood oath, a blood contract with Aleister Crowley, who eventually got off the hook because some propaganda documentaries came out on HBO, which made it out to be a witch hunt, and everybody fell for it and said, oh, man, these guys are innocent, not realizing they're under mind control. They can take any story they want, make a documentary about it, and make somebody look innocent or guilty, depending on what they want to do. I mean, realistically, that's what documentaries are. They're propaganda. They're there for brainwashing. So I'll read you some of the stuff that's come out today. Aaron Hernandez did not have any trace of illegal drugs in his system at the time he committed suicide. This according to a new report. They're reporting the toxicology tests show there was no trace of synthetic marijuana in his system. Even more strange, the outlet says Hernandez allegedly drew an unfinished pyramid similar to what's on the back of the US dollar bills on the wall in blood and wrote Illuminati below it in all caps. And this is a story that just came out today. So some people out there are going to go, well, he was an Illuminati sacrifice. They went in and killed him. Highly unlikely that they went in and killed him, but very likely that they went in at 3 a.m. and bailed him out of prison, and now he's somewhere out of jail free, underground, or whatever they're going to do with him. Because he's a guy who obviously serves Satan. He committed a lot of random murders for no reason. If you ever listened to this guy talk or had seen him as a professional athlete, he's a very sick and demented individual, which is an understatement. So what you have is this mysterious, supposed suicide of this man who is so big, it's hard to imagine that he'd be able to hang himself with his bed sheets in his own prison cell, which happened at 3 o'clock in the morning. He had written John 3:16 on his forehead in ink, and then with his own blood on the wall, drew an Illuminati pyramid and wrote Illuminati under it, and again, with his own blood. So I just wanted to report the story. It's very bizarre. I'm not sure the direction they're going with it. I'm sure people out there will go, or it's, he was crazy, he lost his mind. We've heard stories like this come out all the time where they try to desensitize people with the term Illuminati. I just talked about the Little League baseball team that calls themselves the Illuminati. The nation has been desensitized of the word Illuminati, which obviously was brought forward by the Rothschilds with an agenda. And now in this day and age, in this dumbed down society that we live in, everybody thinks it's a big joke. They don't take it serious that these people are raping and molesting children and doing all this stuff. But Aaron Hernandez, somebody who, the whole thing that went on with him was so bizarre, just so bizarre. That he was committing these random acts of murder. He was found guilty and then found innocent, but he was crying in court when he was found innocent, almost as if he was, it was part of the show. He was crying and broke down when he actually won, one of his cases, even though he still was serving a life sentence. That he was crying when he was so emotionless the entire time. Broke down and cried and then hung himself a day or two later. Things don't add up with this story. And then the fact that they've left, or he supposedly left, Illuminati on the wall with the pyramid in his own blood. None of it really makes any sense. And my guess on it, because people have messaged me and said, what do you think? Was it a hit or was it a suicide? Well, I wouldn't be surprised if the guy was still alive. I wouldn't be surprised if they bailed him out. He was doing their bidding. This guy could potentially be an MK Ultra, athlete. There's many of these athletes who are under MK Ultra mind control programming. Tiger Woods being another one whose programming split, which is why you never hear from Tiger Woods anymore. It's why he can't compete. They blame it on his back and all this stuff because mentally his programming broke. Same thing with Johnny Manziel and many of these other athletes. So they could have easily broke him out of there, taken him to safety because he is one of them. That's just me speculating, but that's my opinion on the matter. I don't think the guy's actually dead. And the Illuminati pyramid and the blood on the wall obviously is their way of sending a message to us out there to either say, oh, it was a hit. Oh, they murdered him for no reason. They went in and killed him even though he was serving a life sentence. As if he, had some information he was going to reveal. Obviously, they want to mock and they want people to pick up on it and say, oh, he was a Looney Tune. Here's a guy who was a mass murderer, who committed many murders, who apparently, before this story broke, right when he committed suicide, stories came out about him being homosexual and bisexual. And that's the stuff that they want out there. They want people, anytime there's an attachment to the Illuminati, if you look up some of these stories where somebody goes to court and they blame it on the Illuminati or they talk about stuff like that, or we had the fake shooter, which obviously was all a psyop at Comet Ping Pong, talking about how, he had heard these stories online about the Illuminati and child sex trafficking rings hanging, going on at this pizzeria. They try to always make us look insane and crazy. So that's what they've really done with this story, is they've tagged him to it. But again, I believe that personally that this guy is still alive. I don't believe that he's dead. I believe it's part of their game. And I believe this is a message for them to the rest of the world. And again, he went on to say in some of the letters that he wrote, which were to his fiance and his daughter and his attorneys, and some, again, said that he wrote some letters to his alleged gay lovers. But he said in one of the letters that he was entering the timeless realm and would see them in heaven. That's what he said. He was entering the timeless realm. So very bizarre stuff, but I wanted to report it since he decided to, or at least they decided to release this story with him using his blood and smearing it on the wall and drawing the pyramid, because attention again will be drawn to the Illuminati and conspiracy theories. And it's another attempt to discredit a lot of us out there who expose who these people really are. And people go, oh, they're not real. This stuff doesn't really happen. The New World Order is not real. The Illuminati is not real. oh, they were real, but then they dissolved, they went away. Yeah, okay, sure. But this is certainly a story that they want out there. Because if this guy really did hang himself, and he really did do that in his cell, that story would never get out as far as writing, drawing the pyramid and writing Illuminati in blood on his wall, unless they wanted it to get out for a reason, which is obviously either to send us a message letting us know what this really is about, that he's actually free, or again, a message to discredit all of us out there who expose these people. So this is Aaron Hernandez, who apparently hung himself, even though he's a monster of a human being as far as size, and a monster of a human being as far as being a human being, if you even want to call him one, who hung himself in his cell after winning one of his cases and crying bizarrely the next day or a day later, and drawing this on his wall in his own blood with John 3:16 written on his forehead. Give me a break. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.